Welcome back, all my 40k fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation, bringing you my list. The final list in our preliminary round that will be facing off against Lane. Lane will be bringing the Death Watch, his Dev Watch, one of his more, well, let's just say hits list that he's been running roughshod with. He takes this thing competitively all over the place. He is very, very tuned and very practiced with this. So, of course, this means I need to play an army that I have very little practice in, very little know-how in, and recently actually just picked up, so much so that, well, it looks a little ugly still. So that'll be a little bit of a change to the video today. No, this is not a permanent change to the format, but the army looks kind of ugly. So instead, we're going to talk about the list that I'll be playing today, what I'm hoping to see from some of these units, and yeah, get our WA on. That's right, I'm playing Orks. Once this will be the second time I will be running the Dread Mob. Yeah, second time, Dread Mob, going into Lane with his Dev Watch list that he's played, probably getting close to at least over 100 games with that. Yeah, that totally seems right. All right. Well, as always, guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do turn on the bell and get notified on all the content that we bring you here on the channel, including Lane's list preview video and the inevitable battle report where the Orks will wad all over the Dev Watch and hopefully do some work. Hopefully is the key there. Because again, 100 plus games to 2. All right. Well, why would I take Orks into Lane's Dev Watch? Well, there's a couple of things. When we started to decide what armies would play other armies, this got to the end of the mix, and that's where the Orks came into it. Now, I am very interested in the Dread Mob. I'm very interested in working on this army more. And that's the reason that I'm even wanting to play this today, is because I want to get more practice in. The good news is, if they get beat, they're out of the tournament, which means I get time to get them painted. The bad news is, I haven't gotten everything painted. In fact, it's moved forward in the sense that I now have the entire army in my collection. I've gotten all the pieces, I've gotten all the parts. This week I spent a lot of time building, fixing. This has been all the repairs. And I have a 10-man unit for an army left to build. And once I do that, all my building quota is caught up. Yay, me, I built everything. So then it's time to do the second stage, get stuff painted. I don't have very much to do for other armies. Lane and I have discussed some base work with my Necrons, but for the most part, I'm going to be diving into the Orks and getting the Orks painted, getting them more presentable on the channel because I want to run this list some more. The Dread Mob is, well, there's only a couple of units that really gain power and a boost from this detachment. And over the course of it, I'll probably pick up a couple more of those, and I'm going to focus my entire collection around the Dread Mob. Things that I'm interested in are things like the Tank Bustas. I personally like them. I don't think they're the most powerful, but I really like them. I like what they have. I like the tank hammer that they have, the rocket hammer, whatever it's called. Stuff with battle wagons, stuff with grots. Being able to, in fact, like you can flood the board with grots. And even though I may not have them in my collection, I have plenty of orc friends that I say, hey, I need to borrow some grots for a video. I'm sure I can get those. But yeah, I definitely am going to be working a lot towards focusing my collection towards the Dread Mob and getting some good painting schemes and stuff together for this as we move forward. So some of the images, though, will be for the kilocans that Lane has assisted me with, because this list will have 18 kilocans in it. All right, I've kind of whispered around it a bunch. I will put up a picture of the entire army. It's ugly, it's messy, it's Orks. Hey, it's built. I have it. Now it's time to get it painted. I am actually anticipating that Lane, with his skill set behind Dev Watch, is probably going to take me to the ringer. But trust me, I'm not going to make it easy on him. Because if there's one thing the Dread Mob can do, it can provide a surprise upset. Where suddenly a bunch of I decide to just keep hitting that button, hit that button, hit that button, and just next thing you know, annihilate his entire army and go, well, Lane, I guess you only have the Votan moving on to the next round. How we doing on this? Love to play upset in that. Unfortunately, in the realistic side of things, I don't necessarily think that I have the skills behind the Orks yet to pilot it, especially going into Lane's Dev Watch, where that Tome of Ectoclades is absolutely terrifying. It's constantly the boogeyman in my head with a lot of my list concept and designs, especially things like with Necrons and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So today, though, it is going to be the Dread Mob. And what does the Dread Mob do? The Dread Mob has the ability to push a button. Walkers, uh, vehicle, I believe that was the other one. I'm sorry, walkers, grot vehicles, and mech units. You roll a dice. You can either get, I believe it's 1 or 2 is sustained, 3 or 4 is lethal. I might have those reversed, but either way, those ways. And then 5 or 6 is critical wounds are an additional 2 AP. Alternatively, you can select which ability you want, but then all of your weapons have hazardous. If you use some of the stratagems that also give you hazardous, these are cumulative up to 2. So now when you roll that hazardous check on a 1 or a 2, you're taking damage. So you could put a whole bunch of boosted abilities and really make something like the the Stomp, the Morkanaut or the Gorkanaut super vicious. However, they're going to tear themselves apart in the process. Kind of a little bit of a risk and reward type thing there. So with that, that's a lot of what the detachment does. Now, any unit that's joined by a mech is a mech unit. So for that, now we'll take a look over at the army. So here is the army, and you can see I have definitely a lot of work to do with this today. Well, here I got a lot of work to do with this army in general. And let's go ahead and start going over some of these units and what we have here today. So first and foremost, we have the Gork and Morkanaut. And I'll put these guys up here because I like them. They're primed, at least. We're in the right direction. The Gork and Morkanaut are equal opposites. The Morkanaut is a little bit more defensive and has better shooting profiles. A lot of its guns have higher damage output, higher strength, and better tank busting capabilities all around. The Gorkanaut has a lot more volume and is also stronger in combat. Stronger in combat by the fact that it has more attacks. Not too much more, but a little bit more. Both of these guys are bulky, and they're in the column of what you would think an Imperial Knight would be, except they're not that expensive. Coming in at like 290, 295 is not too bad. So the Morkanaut has the D6 damage weapons. The Strength 10, AP2, D6 for the Mega Zappa with Blast and Hazardous, and then the custom Mega Blasta, Strength 9, AP2, D6 damage with just Hazardous. So this guy already has Hazardous on its guns right away, so anything else I do is immediately going to bump it up to that second tier 2s to do damage to me column. Then he has 2 sets of rockets and 2 big shooters. Now, the Gorkanaut has the Deathstorm Mega Shooter. 20 shots, 36-inch range, rapid fire 10. So at 18, we're looking at 30 shots. Strength 6, AP1, 1 damage. This could really do some work, especially with a strat that allows me to have full rerolls, and then going into something like sustained or lethal. Now, again, this would be a hazardous check, so I gotta watch. The first game I played, I think I was a little too crazy and going heavy into the hazardous checks. I might need to dial it back a bit and not go as crazy. So maybe if I just did full rerolls on this and let it pick between lethal or sustained, let the dice decide, might be a better way to go. He also has 2 rockets and twin big shooter and a Scorcha. Scorcha, I don't expect much from the Scorcha, a flamer on a super heavy like that. I don't expect very much from it, but it's there. Now, next up we do have, this detachment allows me to take Grots as battle line. So I'm taking 4 squads of them, 2 of which will start the game on the field. 2 of which most likely will be inside the Gork and Morkanaut. Now, a little bit of foresight, since I know that Lane has a deep strike heavy army, and his army can hit me very, very quickly, I might be compelled to put all my Grots on the front line in this one to try to push him back. This would kind of prevent some of his rapid fire capabilities to reduce the number of shots during that Tome of Ectoclade's turn. The more that I can survive, and the Tome of Ectoclade's turn is the one that's going to hurt me the most. After we get past that, a lot of his weapons are significantly weaker. Now, he does have heavy weapons for anti-tank. So I'm going to have to get guys on them. I'm going to have to hit them. I got to hurt them early. But if I can get to his anti-tank weaponry quickly and can somehow remove it before it hurts too much of my army, once we get that past that Tome of Ectoclade turret, I'm saying there's a chance. That's going to be very difficult. It's a very, very tall order for my army, but the Grots can do this. Now, the Grots also have an inherent ability that if I'm during my command phase, if they are controlling an objective, I can roll a dice on a 4-up, I gain a command point. I like this a lot. It's an easy ability, nothing really extra that I have to do. And that's generally what the Grots are doing. They're holding objectives. That's what they're going to be doing most of the game. So we'll have 4 squads down. This may be the first time, and this may be the game that I use them as a screen and cannon fodder. We'll see. That's going to be something that we'll have to see. I have to decide as it goes on, but that is a very likely possibility. I'll probably keep at least 1 in the backfield so that I'm able to still hold my home field objective and then move forward with other stuff. Now, they look ugly and they need some paint, but we are bringing Mega Knobs. We got 5 Mega Knobs. The 6th guy is our mech in Mega, our mech in Mega Armor. He will have the custom force field, and we'll be giving them a 4-up inbound. Now, when I wah, that whole squad gets a 4-up field no pain. That is so brutally resilient. So it's going to be really tough to get by. And I'm also going to try and hopefully pin that so that if Lane starts that Tome of Ectoclade's turn, this is what he's going to run into. He's going to run into Mega Knobs with all the fixings of defense. So he's going to have to pick them as one of his targets and really have to pour the damage on them, or they're not going to go away. And they can do some work. They really can do some work, especially the fact that a lot of Lane's army lacks AP past 2 squads of heavy weapons. Something I really like to see. The Mega Knobs, their damage is negligible when it comes to vehicles. But since Lane has a lot of infantry, they could do a lot of work into his army. They are going to be going into a truck. Last list, I put them in a battle wagon. Now they have their own truck. The reason for that is the truck is cheaper. Simple as that. Truck is cheaper, and it's smaller. It's easier to hide. I don't really feel like I needed the battle wagon for that. What it did, yeah, it's tougher, but I just need something that can get these guys across the field faster. And since the truck is smaller, it's going to be easier to hide. So we've covered that. We also will be taking 2 mechs. We have them out there on the proper bases. And my 2 mechs, I reduced that down from 3 down to 2. Because when the mechs heal my Killicans, they only give 1 model the +1 to hit. So a little less value there. Following the Mork and Gorkanaut around is probably going to be more what they do for most of the game. And that's pretty much going to be it. But that's a big job. And they can still, like I said, they can still heal the cans. They can still heal the truck. There's stuff they can heal and fix. And that's a positive. But for the most part, they're not as efficient going into the can. So having that 3rd one was just giving my opponent the possibility of taking Assassinate. Now, you don't get max on it because I was only running 4 characters, but that's still a pretty decent secondary column to go into and going, okay, all I have to do is destroy things. And last, not last, we also have a 5-man squad Storm Boys. Very cheap, deep strike, secondary point scorers. That's literally it. That's the whole reason they're in there. They're cheap. They deep strike, and they can score me points. Last, and surely not least, so I'm most excited about, we have 3 squads of Killicans. And 3 squads that are all at 6. That means we have 18 Killicans. I love these things, these trash cans with legs. So the Killicans, 2 of the 6-man squads will have rockets. So they are, and I feel like that's the way to go. Rockets have blast, D3 shots, strength 9, high AP, 3 damage. Pretty good there. It's volume of shots. And I think that's something that I'm going to need out of this list, especially with what I really feel like that's something I'll need. I don't necessarily think like the Horde matchup is too much of an issue, especially because these things have blast. So, you figure if I'm shooting into a squad of 20 Termagants, I'm getting +4 per guy. So I'm going 4 plus D3 shots per can. So you have 63 plus, what is that? 4, 12, 36 shot, 36? Yeah, 4 and 8, 16. Yeah. So, and if my math is wrong, I'm sorry. Being on camera and doing the math on the fly, I should have thought about that ahead of time. But yeah, you have 4 shots per guy. I have 6 in there. Yeah, 32 shots. So being able to, or I'm sorry, 36 shots. I said it right the first time. So that I feel is a strong place to be. Now, the third squad is going to have the Scorches. 6 flamers. These guys are going to move up the field and probably be more of my front line ones. The ones that I can rush forward, advance with them, move them into a closer position, and all around be in the front line. I like them because I want to be able to have something that possesses a strong Overwatch, and 6 Heavy Flamers is a good Overwatch. They are AP1, which is something not a lot of Flamers have, so I'm happy to see that. Plus all the kill can abilities to be able to increase the number of shots, increase the strength, deal mortal wounds to myself, because that's such an orky thing to do. Yeah, that's all there. But yeah, this is the core of the list is the 16 kilocans, which I've been in hunting for them to get them situated and get them in this list. So yeah, we're bringing it. We're going to get the 18 kilocans ready to go. I think I just said 16. Numbers. I'm playing Orks. I shouldn't have to think numbers. Just pick up buckets of dice, roll dice, and take everything out that isn't a 5 or 6. That's how it goes. All right. So my plan for today, screen with the Grots. Screen with the Grots so the lane's not able to get the best deep strike position. Get to his anti-tank fast. Get rid of the anti-tank quick as possible so that I'm able to move out a little bit stronger throughout the board. And just try not to go too crazy with all the hazardous checks. Don't just do it because I can. Let some things develop. Not going and picking every single round. Oh, I got to pick this, and taking the hazards and taking that unnecessary damage, unless it's again unnecessary. If I feel it's necessary because I can really pick something up quickly or do enough damage to completely annihilate something, then that may be the cost. But the initial concept of it, got to be safe with it. Got to be careful. All right, guys, that's the list. We'll be facing off against the Dev Watch later today. Dread Mob, round 2. Here we go. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.